Cool. There we have it. Mike Blumenthal. Action
So,
packed.
has everyone got on those links okay when Garrett sent them back?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the last few weeks, we just seem to be having issues. I don't know. Some people they seem to work, and then some people they just don't work. Because when I open them out of the chat, they work just fine.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems either. It's weird.
I remember Jared saying something. You might have to delete some like percentage signs or something out of the URL.
Okay. The
Because I think
donation
what YouTube actually
the
does,
donation link doesn't work now.
I think the YouTube they don't do a direct link. They do some sort of redirect. Um,
It works in the donation link works in the links underneath the video in the SEO Unmasked description.
Zach Hayes is going to do us a quick overlay. Apparently, I just need to figure out what screen resolution I'm running here. I forget. I think it's 1920 by 1080. Yeah, 1920 by 1080, Zach.
Oh, cool. We're going to have a funky overlay.
I guess I use two monitors, and the Samsung's different. But we'll see how it looks.
Oh.
Kind of flying by night here.
It's,
yeah.
All right, let's just see. We've had some. We've had Charles Floats donated again. Thank you very much, Charles. We've had a Carrie Millen. Thank you very much.
Yes, that would be my aunt. Thank you, Carrie.
Anonymous donor, but very, very welcome. Thank you. See how we're doing on the merchandise sales today.
Charles messages, I donated again just for Mike.
Looks like we've sold a mug today. If you guys could all jump on and grab a mug, that would be super cool. So let's sell more than one mug over the presentation, guys. Come on.
Yeah, so I think got the slideshow as good as I'm going to get it. I guess I don't know the best way to do it right now. But
yeah, I mean, it looked pretty good. I mean, I could follow along fine.
We'll get her figured out for next year.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. That was easy enough to follow along full screen, I think.
Yeah.
So just do the same again and zoom us out and screen it up.
For sure. Do we have any updates on anything before we bring Nick Eubanks on? He's next, right?
Yeah, Nick's next. Yeah, nothing's flashing up at the minute, but a couple of people in the chat saying they were donating and stuff. So I'm sure it'll be updated shortly on the official total. We're up to 17%, so pretty good at this stage. 2 hours in, so fingers crossed.
Yeah. I was just going to say something, but I forgot. Oh well, must not have been that good. Charles says he'll donate $100. Nick puts a shoe on his head.
Come on, Nick. $100.
The shop URL. Where did I put that? Teespring, copy, pasta.
We've got 22 more hours to go for the question there in the chat.
Yeah, the time runs up at 9 a.m. Central Time. The last speaker starts at 8. And I will be here. Steve will be here for certainly most of it, if not all of it. And
yeah, I'm here. I'm here for the duration.
Yeah.
I've even adjusted myself to CST just for this. I've been waking up at 6, 7 a.m. CST every day this week and going to bed at bedtime in Minneapolis.
Nick's come back with, if he makes it 250, he'll put the shoe on his head.
Wow. we got bartering over donations now.
Awesome. Oh yeah. So
he says deal.
Yeah. All right, I will drag Mr. Nicholas in here. If Nick Eubanks, so I got to add him as a friend. Nick Eubanks, add contacts. All right, Nick, accept my request, please.
1 second, I'm just going to close my door.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. As soon as Nick accepts that, we should be good to go. Anything wild going on in the SEO world today?
Oh, I'll look up some stuff while you're chatting, because we have got to do the news segment in a little bit.
Search Console's the new beta is live for everyone now, so that should be.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chat about that. People seem to be enjoying playing with it.
Cool, cool, cool. All right, I will drag Nick in here. Just let me know when you're ready, Nick, and we'll get going. Oh, here we go. Mr. Nick Eubanks. How's it going?
It's good. I don't know why it sounds being weird.
Do you have a camera?
Where's the video not working?
Oh, there we go. Haha, there's the boost.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. I got the sound back.
Nice.
Welcome, Nick.
I like that that painting behind you there. Is that something you did?
Yeah, it actually is one of mine.
Cool. Nice.
What is going on with the video?
Oh,
you able to see me? Because
I just did. Now you're gone.
Yeah, it keeps coming in and out.
Yeah, I'm on. Let me just using the webcam.
Now you're back.
There we go. Ah, all right. It's
Awesome.
$250 from Charles Float.
Boots on the head, shoe on the head, whatever it is.
We got a first question in from Joe Singlet. He says, "Who is this dude?"
Who is Nick Eubanks?
I guess he's going to tell you, Joe. Just be patient. Oh, and we've sold a mug. Thank you, Paul.
And Jason Scherer just came in and donated some money. Thank you very much, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
I think we're up to 18% of the goal. We're up to a running start here.
Yeah, 2 hours in. That's pretty cool.
68 people watching. It's awesome. So yeah, once Charles puts in another 250, I think that puts us damn near 2,800 or 3,000 bucks.
Oh, nice. Nice. If everyone who's watching could just send a quick tweet out, let people know that Nick Eubanks is about to talk, get some more people on for Nick, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Sorry, silly phones. Anyways, yeah, Nick Eubanks joining us for the next hour I'm from the future. We're going to be talking about topic modeling for this hour, so get your questions ready at the end. Nick, the floor is yours to introduce yourself and say hello.
Are you actually? Yeah, you're able to see me and hear me? Because
oh, now you went away again. Or wait, are you back? No, you went away again. I can hear you.
All right, that's good. You can hear me. That's a start.
At least we got on long enough with the video for the boot shot to be confirmed for Charles.
Silly Skype never wants to work right. Do-do-do. Do-do-do.
Yeah, it looks like it should work.
Nothing yet, but guess I don't have any idea why. Well, should we just... Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I guess
he's
it's going
gonna
to
call
slides,
back.
isn't it? So,
Add to group call, see if he comes back.
all right.
Okay, all right, now he's back again.
Hey,
Well, I guess we'll be quick with your introduction and go to the slides.
All right, hold on. Just now that we actually got things working. Do this.
So Nick, your Eagles kind of destroyed everyone in Minnesota's dreams last Sunday.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
God, that was painful and embarrassing to watch.
My favorite part is that they're in Minnesota right now painting the Eagles
Yeah.
logo.
Yeah, that's just insult to injury.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Oh boy, oh well.
So yeah, so we can just. I don't know if you guys want to dive right in. Are you guys are you able to share the slides and we'll run through? The best
Yeah,
part
so
of it?
if you want to take a couple minutes to introduce yourself, do whatever, and then when you're done with that, I'll get
Cool.
the slides up and we'll go.
Actually, I've got an intro slide.
Oh,
in there,
okay.
So we can
I will
just
dive right into that one.
jump right in.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so Nick Eubanks here from I'm from the Future, talking about topic modeling, and floor is yours.
All right, cool. Just wait. There we go. So this is going to be a little technical for some and probably not terribly technical for some others, depending on how deep into topic modeling you've gone so far. This deck I originally prepared for a less SEO specific audience. So like there's one or two slides in here that I didn't pull out because they would have sort of fucked up the flow a little bit, but they're not going to mean much to all the SEO folks watching this. It's going to be like sort of face palm moments. So a little bit about me. I've been building and selling companies since I was 19 years old. My first ever company was an iced tea stand I set up in front of my parents' house on a really busy road that I lived at growing up, where I was making about $100 a day selling my mom's mint iced tea. That was sort of me getting hooked onto making my own money. It's been a downhill road ever since. I've built and sold two software companies. They were both content management systems. One was a CMS for rapidly deploying microsites. The microsite strategy was like a really effective way to own the SERPs and rank for a whole bunch of terms. And then I built the equivalent of Yelp in Japan. It was called Toshibako. That was an angel-backed venture that I sold after 18 months. I've built and sold probably 15 other individual websites in a number of different spaces. I've sold an SEO leads business. I sold a blog called SEO Nick. I sold a handful of specific like law firm lead gen sites and sites in the medical space. I'm probably most known for the work I did with Traffic Safety Store while I was there for 5 years, taking it from 3 million to almost 30 million with no funding. And then since that, what I'm currently doing is the project list on the right there. So I'm the founder and CEO of I'm From the Future, which recently merged with True Voice Media and Webris, which some of you folks might know. Me, Matt Barbie, who's the director of acquisition for HubSpot, and Ian Howell's the director of SEO for LendingTree, teamed up and launched Traffic Think Tank last year. Me and my wife have a publishing company. She does most of the work, and my stake in that publishing company is focused on my ADD blog, ADD Hero. So
Right on.
all right, and here we go.
Yeah. Just so you know, there is like a 10-second delay, but between what actually shows up on YouTube. So I'm keeping up with you on the slides and stuff.
Got it. Okay, cool. So these are some of the facepalm slides that I warned you about. So everybody wants more traffic to their website. Ideally, that traffic is sustainable and scalable, and I mean free. Who doesn't want free traffic? So if you're going to hit those 3 check boxes, you need to say hello to SEO. It's the only way it's going to work. So first, in order to I feel like so many people do SEO right now without really understanding the way search engines work. And you can do SEO and you can be effective at doing SEO without really understanding the technology underneath it, because there's some tactics that everybody writes about and reads about and podcasts about, and that's great. But I feel like it really does help if you understand sort of the web of intricacies that is empowering the technology that these are all built on.
Mm-hmm.
So like getting your head wrapped around NLP, or natural language processing, which is the mathematical approach to training machines or robots to understand text. And understand is in quotes because you're literally, machines aren't going to understand text the way we understand things. They're going to be able to make connections and identify patterns and use those patterns to draw all sort of like conclusions. The patterns as they identify them are what we would call topics. And there's a number of different schools of thought for how a machine would be able to identify, score the importance of these topics. And one of those is this concept of using term frequency. So I'm on slide 7, just as a heads up. Term frequency, there's a couple different models that lean on term frequency. The one that I want to talk a little bit about today is this idea of term frequency times inverse document frequency, which is one of the processes for machine-based information retrieval. And what TF-IDF does, that's actually the TF-IDF formula there at the bottom of this slide. What TF-IDF does is it calculates weights based on the frequency that those terms are used throughout an entire set of documents. And when I say, what I mean when I say a document in this sense is a web page. What does that look like?
When you say a document set, are you also including, like if we had a page about pool tables and it linked to like a page talking about felt on a table, is that a document set? Or
it could be the document set. The best way to think about a document set right now is when you punch a query into Google and you see how many results come back. Those are all the results based on all of the pages in Google's index that Google is saying, hey, we just queried our index for all of the pages that are relevant to this term based on our internal scoring system. And so here is the document set that is representing all of the pages relevant to the term you searched for based on our set of documents. And each one of those individual URLs is its own document.
Awesome.
So defining term weights. So like the way that so it's not keyword density. Like that's a really important thing. Like people are like, oh, like, TF-IDF is just keyword density. Like that is so fucking wrong. Like keyword density is dead. This is weight. So like think about like pouring water in a bucket, and like you've got multiple buckets and you put different water in each one. They're going to weigh different amounts. And one of the ways that machine learning algorithms are looking to process natural language is by looking at how much is a page about a specific topic based on how the frequency of the terms used in that document. So if you look at this image on the right here, you can see that like the way TF-IDF is done and the way it should be done is you parse the full HTML of the page and you pull out the global components. So the header, the footer, any boilerplate text. Which a good way to think about is like if you're in like a legal space or like the financial industry and like you've got, it's like some disclaimer that you have that's built as a secondary footer on all of your pages, that would be removed. Any navigational elements like a sidebar or side nav, those are all pulled out. So they're not considered for what that document is representing, just like common stop words. So you have like the, and, because, or, it. Then you've got terms that the terms that are then left in your corpus of the corpora of words on the page are essentially can be put into 2 buckets. You've got low frequency terms and high frequency terms. And according to this school of thought, the higher frequency terms are used as an indicator of importance. And importance is what is used to score that document. Now we're scratching the surface of topic identification. So I have a screenshot here from Ahrefs. You can see that these guys are starting to do a little bit of topic identification in their keyword tool. So like the keyword I punched in for this example was growing organic fruits, and you can see that Ahrefs, based on their keyword database, is able to identify like growing organic fruits is what they're considering a child topic of the parent topic, organic fruit trees. So they're probably using some training mechanism. I have not yet convinced Tim Sulo to tell me exactly how their technology works, but I'm working on it. But you know, this like index of this keyword data and the way that they're scoring topics could very well be using a TF-IDF formula or process. And like, this is stuff that you could, I say you can do it manually if you have patience. It would be a wild amount of patience, and I'll come back to that in a second. But where this becomes really important is being able to take big sets of keywords and group them together into topics, and then use those topics to actually design your content maps and your content calendars. And then you can use topical relevance to, or you can use topic architecture to build relevance for specific terms that you want to rank for. So like a super simplistic version of this would be, using keyword research to identify topics, and then using like fitting those topics into themes. And here's a graphic that I don't know if Matt Barbie just dreamed it up, or if somebody on his team made this, but this graphic is it's a HubSpot graphic from one of his presentations that I really liked. And it talks about the hub and spoke approach, where your hub is your pillar content, and then your spokes are the idea of these clusters. And like the way that this graphic is represented is you've got different, you've got content on different topics that are related to the same theme, represented by the same geographic shape. So you'll see that there's 2 circles and 2 hexagons and 2 squares and 2 triangles. So like each of those shapes would be a page that is about a topic on this, or a concept that's represented within a theme of the hub, but it's a specific group of topics and a specific group of topics. And the idea is building content into clusters. A great example of that is if you go to this link actually on HubSpot for their marketing statistics page. That is what I would consider a hub page that then builds and drives relevance both horizontally and downstream to other spoke versions of that page. So here, I feel like I had a hard time coming up with this, believe it or not, which is going to make me probably seem really stupid, because this is going to seem probably really obvious now that you guys are looking at it. But I was trying to explain the idea of like information retrieval based on topical relevance to my wife, and I ended up coming up with this example, and so I'm using it here. So if it's really stupid, I apologize. But imagine I gave you a stack of 1,000 documents, like 1,000 pieces of paper, and I asked you, like how would you organize these? What if I wanted to know what all the papers were about? What if I wanted to know if any of them were about watermelons? And if they were about watermelons, how many of them were about watermelons, and which pages in this stack of 1,000 were about watermelons, and which one then, like of that stack of pages that were about watermelons, which ones were the most about watermelons versus the least about watermelons? Like, how would you actually go about answering these questions? And the answer is you would need to create a topic model. So this graphic gets a little more involved, but I feel like you guys can actually start to understand it. So on the left side there, you see the examples of topics. You've got a yellow, a really weird pinkish, reddish, muted color, sort of an off green, and then like an Easter blue. And those are the topics that are, and inside those topics are terms. And those are the terms that are appearing, like different terms that are being grouped into topics. So you can see the examples there on the right side, where like all of the terms that would be in the pink topic are highlighted in pink. And you can start to see these topics emerge based on that body of content, based on terms that are very closely related to one another. So the way that you would go about doing this with this stack of 1,000 documents is you would manually, if you didn't kill yourself, you would manually go through with highlighters, and you would start highlighting, hey, this term, this term is very close to this term, and this term is very close to this term, and topics would begin to emerge as you guys started highlighting terms that were very closely related to one another. Here's my big simplistic statement. This is how search engines work. So if you go on to slide 14 then, so like here's an example topic coming back to that one that I ran through Ahrefs, which was like organic farming. So like your topics, like this is very simplistic. Like your topics might be fruit, vegetables, organic foods, and farmers, and those topics may include the terms. Like if your topic was fruit, under like the concept of organic farming, and your topic was organic fruit, you may have terms in that topic of fruit of watermelons, lemons, and apples. Or if your topic is organic foods, you may have terms in there that are USDA, lower yields, organic standards. Hopefully it's starting to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So is it making sense so far, sort of?
Yeah.
Cool. So here's what a TF-IDF analysis looks like for the top 20 ranking pages on Google for the keyword organic farming. You can start to see that like these are the terms that parsing through all the HTML from the top 20 ranking pages, which dear Joe Hall, if you're watching this, I realize that is a wildly small sample size, but like I'm really the reason we narrowed this in so much is because I've found at least that this does tend to be a pretty good representation of the terms you need to be building relevance around, and you need to be grouping into topics and topics you need to be focusing on if you're trying to compete specifically with other pages ranking for these keywords. Ideally based on sort of the academic approach to natural language processing, a sample size to run a topic like a topic model tool set or formula on should have 1,000 documents. So like we can turn our dial up or down to like pull the top 10, like the first 10 pages of results from Google versus just the first 2. This is just looking at the first 2. So you guys can look at the terms that are being pulled back in here and the weights that these terms represent within those documents. So the furthest left is the highest one, which is organic farms, then farmers, then organic products, then organic systems, certified organic. You start to see these terms come, like they start to really make sense when you're like, all right, like what would a page that was about organic farming contain from a term perspective? And then where this gets really interesting is if we then take the #1 ranking URL, which happens to be Wikipedia because it's an informational keyword, so shocker, and we overlay the term frequency for the page on Wikipedia about organic farming, you can see that Wikipedia is the green lines and how Wikipedia's page stacks up in terms of term weights versus the top 20 ranking pages on Google for the term organic farming. And you can start to get a picture about how that, like start to get your head wrapped around how this works and how you might build a topic model that's represented by a whole bunch of keywords. And again, coming back to the idea that what are the terms that Google is expecting to see on a page that Google would score to be very highly relevant around a specific keyword? So the idea of that we come back to here, where it's like, what is Google expecting to see, is based on this idea of probabilistic complexities, where what Google is starting to do automatically now is it's starting to automatically identify topics. And the way that this is done is the machine identifies the topics, and then there's a human component. Well, at least it's human for us. It probably was human for Google 5 years ago. This has got to be so dialed in on their end that they're probably not using many humans to do much refinement, but you have to, there is a piece of it where you have to refine these models when you're first building them. And the way that you're refining them is called training. You're training your model, and it's saying, all right, I'm going to give you a term and you're going to give me the counter term. So like you can see the male-female relationships in the far left vector set here, which is like king and queen and man and woman. And it's a three, the way that I'm talking about these words here is in 3 axes, which is why you can see 3 arrows there. So there's X, Y, and Z. So it's like a spatial, there's spatial awareness for the distance of words and topics themselves. And then you can start to look at the actual tense of the verbs, so like walked versus walking or swim versus swimming. And then you can begin to connect these two ideas and topics and concepts and words that are also probably very closely related. And the way that you're training these models is when you run a term and it spits out a whole bunch of other terms that the machine thinks is very closely related to or logical to the term that you gave it. You're saying yes and no, yes, no, yes, 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 no. Yes, this is relevant to this topic. No, this is not. So you can see the country and capital connections over there on the right. Spain is to Madrid, Italy is to Rome, Germany is to Berlin, and it starts to make more sense. Ultimately, what I'm talking about though is what this is representing is this idea of word vectors, and where these topic models are evolving to a point where they're starting to look at word vectors, and the word vectors are hard to think about in the sense that a word has this directional vector that's going this way, and then this word over here goes this way, and this word goes this way, and this word goes this way.
And then there's kind of like a weight behind it, like if you're in physics class, you got that what makes it the vector, right?
See, it's similar. The whole idea with these vectors is you're looking at like what the math behind it is doing is it's talking about like where do these vectors cross, how close to one another are they, and where word vectors become really important is like when you build like there's this approach called word divect, where there are these pre-trained vectors, and an example of one of these pre-trained vectors is this like, so king minus man plus woman is what you give the machine, and the machine, if it was trained well, would come back to queen. And when this begins to become really important from a machine learning perspective, and the way that Google is approaching this is Google's starting to calculate the actual spatial relations.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like,
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, can we start applying, like, mathematical stuff just like physics class now that we have, like these pre-trained vectors? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I didn't mean to
so where it gets really exciting is you start thinking about like where proximity represents relevance. And what that means is here is this word vector, and then Google's able to use probabilities to determine, all right, if this word is here, what are the 5 words that are most likely to be around that word? So like if you're searching for this word, Google's actually able to say on the back end, like, what are the words that I expect to see on a page about this keyword based on where this word vector is and the probability that these are the words that are most likely to be on a page about this thing.
Cool.
So going on to here, slide 19. So you can start to put this into practice when you're doing, if you're doing keyword research for very large sets of keywords. We just did we just built a keyword list for a site in the legal niche, and they wanted 1 million topics. Not 1 million keywords, they wanted 1 million topics. So we use LDA, which is like sort of the evolution of TF-IDF, in my opinion. Which stands for Latin derelict allocation, which is just a different formula for natural language processing. And we use that to actually do term clustering. So you can see here on the right, like, as we're doing the ideation process for keywords to try to like get all of our keywords together. This keyword list happened to be about coffee. You can see that like it pulled in French press 2 words, French press 1 word, French presser, and it scored them all as ID 27, so it's grouping them all together. And what I specifically left in here was, you can see where like this is obviously like an early variation of this clustering model because it's not well trained yet, because cappuccino got put in there as well. And cappuccino and French press, while those are probably more close, like have a closer proximity to French press than like versus French press and bubble tea, they're still, cappuccino shouldn't be getting grouped into a term cluster with including French press. So like cappuccino would be the one term here we would mark as a no, and we'd run that back through. Cool. It's making sense?
Yeah.
So where this has all been heading is the idea that like we're able to generate these probabilities, which is where it gets really interesting from an SEO perspective. So here what you're looking at is, this is the visualization of this is an LDA visualizer. So this is, I gave it the topic of organic farming. I'm like, all right, LDA visualizer tool. Here's the topics for organic farming, or the keywords organic farming. Create for me 9 topics. So what you're looking at here is these bubbles. Each of these bubbles on the left is the actual topic, and then the terms that topic contains are spit out on the right side. And this is a generative model, so this is all done automatically. So like, if we click, like in this example, I've clicked number 1, which is the topic that contains the largest amount of terms with the highest relevance score, and it's representing what's going 60% of the tokens. So you can see that this one, like the number 1 bubble here, the term with the highest relevance in that topic is organic, then organic farming, food, soil production, crop, conventional methods. Like you can see the term list going down top to bottom from most relevant to least relevant. So like this stuff starts helping when you're trying to think about like, I'm going to build a page for a super competitive term, and especially if it's in the informational space, and I need to really get dialed in, like, what are the pages that should be child pages in terms of like the concepts I want to represent? How many topics should I be speaking to on this page? What are the words that I should be trying to address when I'm building a page relevant to specific topics? And it comes back to this idea of topic clustering. So on slide 21. So what you can look at here is, this is actually like what a topic cluster or a term graph would look like, where the topic clustering is being done with a color indicator. So you're starting to group topics into themes. And like, this is where keyword research becomes really important, right? So like, you're building a corpora of documents that is represented to all these topics. And like, this is where scraping Google becomes super important, because you want to get, like, you want to go and query Google's index and use it to pull back, here, like, give me all the HTML and all the term weights for this keyword and this keyword and this keyword and this keyword. And you're going to take all this information and you're going to use that to group these terms into clusters and use those topics to come up with, like, all right, what's the concept that is best represented by these 10 topics that I'm talking about? On to slide 22, the moment you've all been waiting for. How the hell does this get you more SEO traffic? So I really like this illustration of Einstein, which is why I use it. So I'm going to answer that question with a bunch of other questions, because this is SEO, which means you're all masochists anyway. So what if you knew the terms that Google was expecting to find on a page? What if you knew the topics Google was expecting to find? The concepts that these pages should, like, the concepts you should be linking to from pages about a specific topic, the pages internally that should be linking back to the page you're trying to rank internally to correlate the relevance factors between those different sets of documents. The types of pages that are that are not in the SERP that you're trying to rank for, but are about the topic, that are out there that you can go and prospect to and pitch links to, pitch for links. So moving on to slide 24. Coming back to the idea that this is not fucking keyword density. The things you shouldn't do are, don't try to dial in term weights from IFTF for a specific document. Don't run fucking TF-IDF and be like, all right, like my website is not quite as high as the one ranking #1, so I need to go add that word in a bunch more times. Like, don't stuff fucking keywords into your pages just to increase the term weight. This is not how this works. Google is much, much smarter than this. What you should be doing is look for terms that represent the topics. This is where the refinement of the process of iterative and refined keyword research comes into play. Use the topics that start to come out from a TF-IDF process or an LDA process to do additional keyword research. Explore the pages that are currently ranking for those terms, and then analyze those pages, internal links and external links. Who's linking to them externally? What pages that are ranking really well? What are those linked to from? What are the pages about that those pages are linked to from within the same domain? A great place to use for general topic modeling as sort of a litmus test is Wikipedia, at least for informational terms. That entire corpus is brilliantly well connected from a term, like a term ecosystem in terms of relevancy. So like, if you start thinking of implementing data from a topic model, so on slide 25, I pulled an example from my own life, on the e-commerce side. So the terms that, what you might call the keywords, these are all keywords in some extent, in the most broad extent of that word. But the terms here would be like these very individual, very singular terms, like 28-inch orange traffic cones and 18-inch lime traffic cones. Based on all of these terms, I can start to look for patterns and group them, and based on those patterns to create my topics. Topics are then going to be things like orange traffic cones, lime traffic cones, colored traffic cones. And then those can get moved into themes. And those themes can be synonyms. So like in this case, I use 3 synonyms for traffic cone, because just the amount of search volume around each of these different topics and terms tended to be very representative of all of these synonyms that people were using to represent the same things. And then like a real world example, so like here's the category page. This is also the page that ranks #1 on Google for the keyword traffic cones or safety cones. And you'll notice that this page outranks Fortune 100 companies like Walmart and eBay and Home Depot and Lowe's and Grainger. And it's because the amount of relevance that's been created on this page. So like the topics that I was just talking about in the last slide, you can see here what I use to as the naming conventions for the subcategories across the top. And then if we scroll down the page, you can see that I spoke to a lot of these specific topics that came back when I looked at what are the terms that have the highest and heaviest weights across the top 20 ranking pages on Google, and using these terms to do additional keyword research and using those keywords to actually inform the content that's being written. And if you go down to, again, slide 28 one more time, you can see like it's just it's additionally like it's just blowing out the content that's used to target these pages. If you look at the URL architecture of that site, you'll notice that it's essentially segregated into product versus content. And the parent-child relationship for products is, traffic cones is the category, orange and lime traffic cones is the subcategory, and then I've got the detailed product pages that are nested underneath that. And it's supporting this ecosystem where you're going, again, from term to topic to theme. So implementing data from a topic model. This is oversimplified, but I think you guys will hopefully have some idea of what at least the fuck I'm talking about now after the past 35 minutes of me rambling about this. So one of the really important things that not a lot of people are talking about in SEO yet, at least not publicly, and I'm about to change that just for future reference, is talking about content type. If there's a keyword that is really important to you or your client, you want to go after, and the SERP is currently like all the top 5 rankings are all aggregator sites, you're not going to rank your fucking blog post above those aggregator sites because Google has identified that the users, based on all of their input signals, users want to see aggregator content. That is what is driving the most quantitative and qualitative best user experience for Google's users. And Google is a user experience company. And so once they identify that it's going to take a specific content type to rank for a specific keyword, you need to create content that is that content type, whether it's a page or an aggregation or a list, or if you want to get in with Wikipedia, you can outrank Wikipedia. It's possible, but you need to send a lot of the right signals to change the type of content that users are finding to be the most relevant for the content that Google's looking to rank. You can design a content map once you've identified the content types. There's a link to a resource piece on that. You lay out your content calendar. You then design an SEO first URL architecture, very similar to the one that I talked about that we did on Traffic Safety Store. I'm not going to go into publishing because that's a whole other different monster. And then you begin to use things like TF-IDF and to expand your keyword research and realize that, just because you have a page that ranks for 300 keywords now, it doesn't mean that same page can't rank for 3,000 keywords. It's what are the additional topics that Google could find relevant to the topics I'm already discussing? How do I design content to inject into this page logically, relevantly, and get links from content on these other topics that I'm not yet ranking for to expand the overall footprint of relevancy for this page? To help you guys do that, we put out 2 free tools. One is our TF-IDF tool, which the screenshots that I put in the presentations earlier were from. You can find it at that URL right there. It's completely free. It does shit on itself a bunch because it's still getting hit a few hundred times a day. Google doesn't like scrapers. We're torching so many fucking proxies every day, just keeping these tools up. So if it doesn't work, just bear with me. Don't trash me on Twitter. Just shoot me an email, and I'll rerun your results, and I'll try to pull them out for you. That LDA visualizer that you saw with the bubbles and the lines and stuff, we also put that up, also free. It's at that URL. Same deal. These are getting hit hard. If you get blank results, please don't go call me an asshole on Twitter. Just let me fix it. And lastly, if you want to talk about any of these things in detail, you can find me in Traffic Think Tank, where we go into a gross amount of detail on all of these at any point in time. Our next opening is in 4 days.
Cool. Awesome.
And that is what I got on the presentation side.
Awesome. That was wonderful. Really cool. It's nice to see not a lot of people in general talk about the super theoretical side of stuff and how to apply, or not apply, but how to actually think about it properly. And I really like that kind of stuff. So that's cool.
Sweet. Yeah, I hope there's some value there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there definitely was. I mean, it's something that I had a little play with, but clearly need to do a lot more work to get to this level of understanding. But I think people can get some pretty easy key takeaways from it in terms of what they need to be thinking about next, what they need to be avoiding going with keywords, and obviously the point you made about the types of content. I mean, that's been really clearly a direction Google's been moving on for a while, but you still see people trying to stuff their one product review in amongst, like you say, aggregators that have 50 different laptops reviewed or something, and they want their Toshiba review to rank number 3 or something. It's just never going to happen on those kind of SERPs. So that's a really good takeaway as well.
Yeah, it's super entertaining watching how frustrated people get when they can't rank the type of content that they want to rank in a SERP that clearly is not going to rank that kind of content.
Right.
It's yeah, and they won't stop. There'll always be someone doing that, but hopefully none of our viewers. We're up to 93 viewers now, so
Yeah,
welcome
thanks, Charles.
to everyone that's new. I hate to bang on about this, but all these lovely speakers have given up their time completely for free to support the charity. So if you can give anything at all, jump to the Just Giving link. It's for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research. Just jump on the Just Giving link. It doesn't matter how little or how much you give, just anything to support the charity. I'm sure Nick will greatly appreciate it too, having given up his time to talk about something that's pretty complex and simplifying it enough and giving us a clear enough view that we can all figure out what we need to do and what we need to think about. So, and there's mugs as well. If you don't want to donate on Just Giving, you prefer to get a 24 Hours of SEO mug, or T-shirt, just jump on the Teespring. All the money goes straight to the charity, except for the Teespring costs, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys doing this. Jude's Children's Hospital is a really easy charity to get really excited about supporting.
Yeah.
So you guys are top notch for putting this together, and I'm thrilled to be here. So
Yeah, awesome.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Steve, you want to head up the Q&A again?
Let's have a look. We've got Payman Tolkien, hopefully I pronounced that right, saying, Nick, are you still using Term Explorer?
So yes and no. Yes, I am, but not the way that you guys are using it. I don't know how to answer this without sounding elitist. I've got like super secret special access. So we did some stuff on the back end privately that we're piping into our tool, which is hopefully coming, keeping it up and stable to the point where I want to let other people use it. It's really, really hard. But one of these days, Term Explorer is still really valuable, but you can't use any of the data. Their process for getting keyword data from the keyword tool got bricked a while back. So you have to like use SEMrush or Ahrefs or Keyword Keg to get your keyword data from somewhere else and then swap that in, which is super annoying. But I promise you there's a fix coming soon.
I mean, I've got a question really around, because it's around the point where I started running into roadblocks, was around getting the data out of Google, because obviously they don't want you to do all the scraping. How difficult was that to resolve in the end, where you can keep your TDF IDF tool up and running pretty much most of the time?
As soon as I figure it out, I will let you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you're struggling with that bit as well. That seems to be the hardest part.
Yeah, so we buy proxies from, I don't know, 4 or 5 different sources, including like one dedicated broker who literally sells them out like almost, it's like he's selling them out the trunk of his car sort of thing. We do a mix of proxies. We try to run US proxies or UK proxies for UK terms. I mean, there's the localization problem, and then like there's moving to the need for SSL proxies, which is definitely like, if we're not there already, which I would say we sort of are, we're getting it going there really fast. There is a massive opportunity for somebody to build a truly bulletproof proxy management tool, and I would just give you endless money if you did that.
Yeah, well, I think you're not alone. I think there's several other tools that sometimes have enormous downtime as a result of the same problem. So it's kind of industry-wide, isn't it?
What's that new tool we've been using for scraping, so we don't have to do it with Google?
Oh yeah, there's another search engine called GigaBlast that has an API. You can get data from it. Whether it would be obviously it's not as sophisticated as Google. So if you put a keyword term in, whether it would be as useful for this kind of analysis, I have no idea.
Right.
For just finding sites.
We do supplement a lot of our Google data with crawl data. We actually have a box here in the office that we use, and we download ComCrawl probably once a week. It's massive. It's using up almost all the hard drive space on that entire box. But it at least gives us something to query when Google just sort of shits in our bed.
That's got to be a lot of data.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's pretty insane. So the I'm from the future search engine is about 1 year away to take Google down.
There's some really good jokes going on in some private Skype groups about what it would take to actually build a search engine and how fucking close we actually are. Not on purpose, but sort of by accident.
Yeah.
So when's the IPO? Can I get in at like 5 cents a share?
God. We're going to do an ICO instead. That's
Oh God, here we go. Yeah.
Someone's just asking about dental marketing's asking about the effectiveness of parasite content in 2018.
I mean, it's alive and well. You know, if you're looking at a SERP and you have no hopes of ever cracking a page on your own website, you might as well find a page on another website that you can go rank there. Traffic is traffic. It doesn't have to come to your website. You know what I mean? It's more about getting the eyeballs you want than it is getting them on your website. And that hurts a lot of SEOs' egos. But at the end of the day, you know, make the money. Don't worry about where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke a while ago. I did a presentation where I was talking to local businesses just around, you know, the SERPs and the opportunities that are there. And we just looked at a top 10 SERP, and I think it was pizza restaurants in Chicago or something. And one of them was a news story, which is still ranking, like it was still ranking at the time, like number 2. But of the 25 best restaurants they reviewed, 6 of them were shut down. So if you're a pizza restaurant in Chicago, you can help the journalist out, update their article, get them out for a free meal, get into position number 2 on Google that way. And we just kind of looked at each position like that, thinking critically about, right, what can we get on this page somehow? And I think people overlook those opportunities, or they think Parasite is just trying to jam a new page up on, I can't even remember the names of them all now, like Squidoo or something, you know, like parasiting off stuff like that. You can be a lot smarter about your Parasite SEO strategy than just jamming pages on some authority site. You can target specific pages in SERPs you want to be included, all kinds of stuff you can do. So I think it'll be alive and effective as long as people are at the other end to let you talk them into being on their page.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, I would completely agree.
Let's have a look. He followed up with, he was thinking about a 301 redirects from WordPress free site Parasite, for example. I'm not familiar with that strategy. I don't know if you are, Nick.
What was it about 301? Can you say that again?
It says, I was thinking of 301 redirects from WordPress free site type Parasite, for example.
WordPress free site. You can't. So building sites on the hosted version of WordPress and then redirecting them in.
I don't imagine that's a heavy hitting tactic.
I guess. Hypothetically, I guess if you have the hosted version of WordPress and you pay the $15 a year to use your own domain and you're on the hosted platform and then you set up your own hosting on the domain, and because like you could do a DNS redirect, but DNS redirects they're not as effective as actually using like an htaccess or a file. I don't know. I'm not that. I mean, if it's working for you, dude, good. But I've not fucked with that at all.
Yeah, Joe's giving him some tips about JavaScript injection. So
yeah, there we go. There's the word. I was
there we go.
Worthless.
Yeah. I don't think that's a heavy-hitting tactic for right now. But we've got Carl Hudson's bought a hoodie, so thank you very much, Carl. It's absolutely brilliant. Any support you guys can give, even if it's just a little purchase of some merch, little donation. There's 111 on the feed now, so
yeah, we're really up there.
Everyone's come on to listen to TDF IDF apparently, so good topic choice, I think. For those of you that are new, the hashtag we're trying to use is hashtag 24, the number, then HSEO. If you can just tweet out, let people know the live URL for YouTube, share it on Facebook if you're in any groups. Just get more people on if you can. Anyone you know that might be interested, drop them an email. Let's really get the number up. Let's get 200 people on for the next presentation. Let's all get together and try and get as many people on as we can and raise as much money for charity as we can.
Yeah. So Nick, what are you using for a development tool for these 2 tools that you are sharing with us?
So they use open source libraries. So the TF-IDF one is Genome. I'm definitely mispronouncing it. And the LDA one, or Gensum, I think it actually was called. And the LDA one was a tool set written by somebody in the machine learning department at Stanford. Okay. They're both out there, open source. So we just took them, hooked them up to a Python backends, to databases here locally, They push through instances on EC2, and then the web forms on the front end are like Gravity forms or some shit like that.
Cool. There was just a question. Payman Tarkian, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Will you be updating the keyword research course that you put out a few years ago?
No.
There you have it.
That was too much work at the time, eh?
I mean, it was a great foray into info products, but at this point, all my extra energy outside of my companies is going into Traffic Think Tank. Me and Matt and Ian invest really heavily into the videos we're shooting and the process templates we're sharing in there, and it's just not worth packaging them up and taking attention away from really building that community.
So if you want to get the insider stuff, join Traffic Think Tank. Is it open at the minute, or are you closed at the minute?
We open the 29th for 3 days.
Cool. So it's 29th of January.
200 people, whichever happens.
200, so that's quite a big opportunity to get on. So 29th, trafficthinktank.com, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, the last slide of my presentation. So if you guys are sending them out to everybody who's hopefully smart enough to sign up for the newsletter, then they'll get them.
Yep, so sign up for the newsletter, you'll get Nick's slides, and write down the 29th, because I guess 200 will probably sell fairly quickly.
I think I just got on the wait list.
Cool.
So why not? Continue.
Yeah, why not?
So I see there's a question. It looks like it just came in from Mr. Word Agents himself.
Oh,
how
wow.
to use those tools to reoptimize review articles. It'd be twofold. So if you have an existing article, I would definitely run, whatever your head term is through the TF-IDF tool, enter your URL in, see how the weights of your content currently stacks up. There's probably some holes. Take those terms that you currently have no weight for ever, that like aren't on your page, or those concepts are not scoring on your page at all, and go do keyword research with those terms as your seed term. Use that to build a topic, and then add that topic content back into that page. And then the same thing with about LDA. It's a little bit cooler. Is LDA automatically creates topics for you. So if you use the LDA tool and you give it a head term, it'll generate 9 topics for you. You can click into each of those topics and say, hey, like, what are the terms that are being recognized as a topic? And like, am I speaking to this topic? And the best way to look at, like, is my page speaking to this topic, is, do I have any content that addresses any of these terms? It's not so much about using the terms, it's about speaking to those terms. Hopefully that makes some sense.
I guess Vin will let us know, Mr. Word Agents himself.
Yeah, Ben, I thought you knew this stuff. Come on.
I think it's hard to get the if you're I'm thinking about it like from a someone who's a passionate writer, like a freelance writer or something, and before with SEO they had to learn to become an SEO copywriter or something. All they really had to learn was to put sensible phrases in. We've all known for ages you have to put related terms in, and people talked about semantically related phrases and terms and all that stuff, but it was still pretty easy for them to get their heads around. This kind of next level of analysis is quite a big step up for people in the writing game, that have been just writers for ages to kind of get their head around. It's quite a big step forward, I think, in analysis.
Yeah, I'm scratching the surface here. I mean, there are so many people that are so much smarter than I am that like really have this stuff, dialed into like to a whole other level.
Jason Scherer has a question. Any tips on using TF, IDF, and LDA for local? Before you answer, we don't know why the links in the chat don't work for some people, but they work for others. It's something with the YouTube redirect. So if you just type it out in your browser, or
yeah, I'm getting 404s too. Hold on one second. If I go to the page and get the 404, and then I try to reload the page, now it's weird. The pages are definitely up.
Yeah, it's something because YouTube doesn't do a direct link; they redirect it internally first. So I don't know why.
Yeah, some extra characters end up in some URLs. If like Vin's typing some instructions in the chat.
Yeah,
there's nothing we can really do about it because we are pasting the correct links in. So I don't know how to make Google stop adding extra characters or whatever.
Yeah, they must just have something goofy in the redirect where if it encounters like a % somewhere strange, it like doubles it up or something. I don't know, but
yeah. So delete everything after the / Mike Clute saying. So if that's working, we'll add that to the notes or something for future links.
cool. I already forgot what the question is. Sorry, Jason. Let me scroll back up here. Any tips on using TF-IDF and LDA for local?
I don't treat local any different. I mean, the only thing I do different for local versus national is citations instead of links, and I'm just build links to the citations anyway. So, exact same approach.
Cool. Ivan's talking about. I'm not using PBNs at the moment. I have my site ranking well for local terms. Do you have a rule for diversity when you're just pointing Web 2.0s and things like that? Free links at the site. I mean, I guess if you're ranking well with that kind of easy to get link, you're not in too competitive a space. So,
yeah, my general link diversity ratio is anything under 3% is worrisome. I love, super healthy is going to be anywhere above 5 to 10%. If you're above 10% in terms of linking root domain diversity, you're a fucking god, and just keep doing whatever you're doing. But yeah, generally, anytime the diversity ratio is under 3%, I would be concerned.
Okay, it's a good rule of thumb.
Cool.
I can't tell if Carl Hudson is trolling me. Is he being serious?
He clearly thought you were talking about PBNs. He's missed it.
Maybe Carl missed it, the presentation.
Oh, have you just joined, Carl? It'll be replayed in full if you didn't miss it.
Nick just talked for about 35 minutes on TF-IDF.
I don't think we've got time.
If you go to the 24 hours of SEO and sign up, after we're all done, we're going to break everything down hour by hour and send the presentation back out so you can rewatch it.
Guys.
Yeah. Those fucking Eagles, man. Still can't believe it.
Have you guys asked Alexa yet who she wants to win the Super Bowl?
No, I don't even have one.
Definitely do that.
I've got a Kindle Fire. I'll ask Alexa on that and see what she says.
I don't know if the Kindle Fire. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've syntax is Alexa, who do you want to win the Super Bowl?
Okay.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Are you doing it now?
No, I haven't got it with me.
Okay.
I'm just making a note to remember.
Cool. Well, I think that's all the questions. Thanks a lot, Nick. That was really interesting and much appreciated.
Yeah, that was super cool.
No, it's my pleasure. I have to go figure out how to move somebody off of Endeca onto Solar for their internal site search engine. So any extra minutes I can do to put that off because it makes me feel better.
That doesn't really sound fun.
No. It's, I'm sure they're rewarding you suitably for the effort though. So I'm sure it'll be okay.
Vin wants to know what's up with all the nasty Eagles fans.
If you haven't seen the new chant, the new Eagles chant, it's my favorite one ever of any team, not just the Eagles, even though obviously I'm biased. It's no one likes us, no one likes us. We're from Philly, fucking Philly. No one likes us. We don't care. It's
I'd say that's probably pretty accurate.
I also I see Mike Clute here asking about the cheesesteak. I'm scared to ask you where you got a cheesesteak, Mike, because there's like a 90% chance you got a fucking tourist cheesesteak and not a real one.
What are the two big ones that everyone goes to? Geno's and
yeah, Geno's and Pat's. Those aren't cheesesteaks.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where the hell I had one out there. It wasn't those two, but I think it was a real one.
There's a couple different takes, but yeah, there's only really a few spots.
Gotcha. Yeah, so don't forget to ask Nick about your cheesesteak questions, and see you later, man.
All right, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
See you, Nick.
All right. I guess we'll do a quick update, and anyone